our shopping, and we realized we didn't have Johnny.
I was in North Dakota.
And where was it?
North Dakota.
North Dakota, okay. So we came, and what do you do? I mean, I don't even remember what the kid had on, because they, we got dressed.
It was one of these towns in North Dakota, all the houses were along the road, and there was a narrow sidewalk, and anybody could have reached out and grabbed the kid, nobody would ever
Of
find
course,
it.
no one was stealing kids, but the Lindbergh kids, they were the only ones who had been stolen,
Sure.
probably.
And that was a kidnapping, so.
Yes, and yes, for money. And so anyway, we were all upset, and then finally Tony saw him way down the street. And Johnny couldn't find the store because they didn't have signs like today, big signs that was just painted
Sure.
against the building.
Mm-hmm.
And he never thought of looking up there because he'd never seen one before. And so we saw him coming back, and he said when he reached the bridge, he knew he had missed something.
But by the way, by the time that he started to work, and that's when we stopped when he started to do summer, the kids started working in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
we stopped our long vacations. Otherwise, as soon as school was out, we would take off for the west,
Okay.
because we thought we could see the east anytime.
Sure.
We traveled everywhere. We camped under Yosemite Falls, we went across Golden Gate Bridge, we went to Washington State, Arizona, the Painted Desert, they had seen the whole West.
That's amazing.
Camping, being,
Yeah, they really saw it. They were in it.
they were in it, that's correct.
Then when we did the Northeast.
And we've got pictures of all that,
Okay.
and sounds, when we would cross,
You got the
we had recordings
That's
of
probably
Okay.
it, but yeah, probably. When we did the Northeast really, we did hotels.
Mhm.
By that time, we got rich.
I remember you said that you were done with the pop-up camper.
Yes.
And you
I-
wanted hotels now.
Yes, we did hotels.
They didn't like it.
They didn't like the hotels?
They didn't like the hotels, and they said, but they've got this, they've got that. They don't have any park rangers.
we
Yeah.
just-
See, we used to use the free national parks. We used to buy this $2 gold and something or other,
Mhm.
park free in any national park in the United States.
Sure.
And usually at nighttime, you could go to the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, do you remember how much it cost to go to California, go to Disney World? How much?
I think that
So-
with dinner, spending the whole day at Disney World, I think the total bill was like $26.
Uh,
You couldn't get in
Gasoline in those
one
days,
person.
the gasoline in those days when we used to go across the first time around to California was 18 cents a gallon.
Wow.
Now, the other part about it is I was making $8,000 a year.
Sure,
So,
sure.
in an important job.
Yeah.
So, and that was a good pay.
Right.
But today, I think in many ways, it's more costly to raise a family today than when we were raising our family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could stop in many places and get a 5-cent hamburger or something like that, an ice cream cone for a dime. And now you weren't making very much,
Sure.
but
But the ratio
Right.
is out of whack. I think.
today you get an ice cream cone, it's $3 or $4.
Yeah.
We we ate breakfast at the campsite, and we ate lunch
What
on
would,
route.
what would you make at the campsite for breakfast?
Oh, a cereal probably, then we'd
Okay.
stop later and get donuts.
We ate one meal, and usually it was a fast food,
Mm-hmm.
but we were able to have enough room in the trailer. We always kept ice in there.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the biggest problem we would have is sometimes, what was this one guy that we stayed at this one campsite, we were taking ice to put in our cooler, and he heard us, and he says, no, that's a no-no.
You couldn't have the ice.
Well, he gave us what we had taken, but ice was,
We,
you needed ice in the trailer, and you needed to replace it daily,
Mhm.
about 25 pounds of ice. And a lot of times if we would stay in a campsite, they had ice, but not for you to take with you.
we, on Friday nights and another night, what is the name of that hotel? Howard Johnson
Mm-hmm.
used to have all the fish you could eat or all the chicken you could eat. So whenever we found the Howard Johnson, one of those nights, or we often ate Howard Johnson's, But we'd have dinner, we'd have a nice meal, or, every night. We didn't do any evening cooking,
Sure.
because it's time consuming.
They would not have seen as much of the United States by the age they were if it hadn't been for camping.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm gonna just break for 1 second.
I need to bring the kids up to feed them, and it's gonna be kind of noisy,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Sure.
So they can take a
What's happening?
20 minutes or half an hour break.
She's gonna bring the kids up to feed them, and it's just gonna be noisy.
Okay.
So.
So, if I mean, is it okay?
Sure.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
letting you know that. I'm
Awesome,
bringing-
thank you.
Okay.
Um,
We'll just kind of chit chat and see what we can get. So basically, you would start off in the morning, you would have your ice cooler, so I guess you would have milk to do the
And
cereal.
lunch meat.
And lunch meat,
And then at nighttime, we would stop at Chico restaurants.
Yeah. And then they would have like something that was more family friendly, so everybody can eat.
Right, and of course, we made stops during the day,
Mhm.
get snacks.
Sure.
Then we didn't know too much about cholesterol.
Where was it,
Yeah.
Nancy, that you said, was it in California where we got into this rainstorm and everybody called me cheapo?
Oh, no, that was in the Lumberton, North Carolina, that horrible storm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, we stopped doing this when the boys started working in between their junior and senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, it was all preparing for college.
But they would never have seen all the things that they saw by the time they finished.
Yeah.
They,
It's amazing. I mean, I think, I know for myself, I've seen some of the states, but I would actually, even at this age, like to just get in the car and go from place to place and see what you guys have seen that way.
Bryce Canyon was beautiful.
Right.
so we thought that anything east of the Mississippi River, we could see on long weekends.
Sure. So
And so-
did you get up into, like Massachusetts to see Plymouth Rock?
Yes.
Yes,
That was-
we took that trip too.
And that was, I think, with hotels.
Huh?
I think that was with hotels.
Yeah,
We went northeast,
that was
yes.
hotels, that's correct.
Yes, we visited almost all the national parks. There were a
Okay.
couple we missed in the United States, of course, not the one in Hawaii,
Sure.
but, and they were beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We went and looked, we camped in Yosemite. Is that in California?
Was that Yosemite? Yeah.
Okay, this was the beginning of the hippie stage.
Mm-hmm.
And we camped there, and we were surrounded with all of these young adults with long hair,
Mm-hmm.
just surrounded. And of course, I wanted to get out of California anyway because of earthquakes.
Mhm.
I just thought for their, I'd lose my children in an earthquake.
And you were allowed to camp in those days in Yosemite Park. You're not anymore, you can't do
You
that.
can't camp there.
They were wearing it out.
Oh, okay.
It was beautiful. But anyway, those young people were so nice. And so I guess we were very surprised that there were nice hippies
Yeah.
as well as bad ones. And so that was an experience for all of us.
Where are those mountains that we camped went outside where you could see those famous mountains, Nancy?
Of the people of the face.
The Tetons.
Oh, the
The
Tetons.
Tetons. We were,
Is that in Mexico?
that's in North or South Dakota area. But you were allowed to park in this one park that the whole day, there were the Grand Tetons right in front of you, you know, and they were quite tall.
Yeah.
No, they got to see a lot that we would never have been able to afford it.
Mm-hmm. If you try to stay in hotels the whole time. Plus, I think something that sounds even more beneficial on top of even just going and seeing it was the research ahead of time. So if you were reading up on them and then going to get to see them, I think that
We
really,
had good notes.
Like, what was that? That author that we stopped at his house in Kansas.
Mark Twain.
Huh?
Mark Clemens, Mark Twain.
Mark Twain, yeah, Mark Twain, we stopped at his place.
okay.
And, and they had all heard of Mark Twain,
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway,
Samuel Clemens.
when we finished the traveling, the boys were in high school. Chip was not in high school yet, but the boys were. And we started going to the beach then.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony did not like the beach, so when the boys were young, he would take us, or we would drive to Ocean City because they had lifeguards there.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt more comfortable with lifeguards. But even then, I would stand on patrol. I mean, I didn't have a whistle, I had a hand up. And so that was fun. And I don't think you even spent a night with us. You'd take us up and go on.
I think we went to Myrtle Beach for years, Nancy, for many years.
Are you finished? Tony, no, we stopped going to Myrtle Beach when we started going to Ocean City.
Okay.
And he would take us up or pick us up or something. Right.
Yeah. We stayed at the Scandal's place.
That was yesterday, when we stayed on the boardwalk. We stayed on the boardwalk in a hotel for a number of years before the swings opened. Do you have to recharge?
We've got about 10 more minutes left on the tape. Battery's looking good.
So where do we go?
Battery's a little low on this one, but I bet we've got 10 minutes on it.
Okay, good.
I guess one thing I'd be curious about is what you can remember of your lives changing, how you felt as you had each child. So only based on, because I remember when my brother had his first son, how the family was just overjoyed with this little guy that just sat there the whole time. So can you kind of talk about what it was like when you guys first had John and how you felt? And
Well, I can tell a little bit about that. With John, we have so many pictures in a baby book.
Mhm.
And I don't remember, we do not have any pictures of Chip, the youngest. And there wasn't a baby book after John.
Sure.
So that
I
was,
think that's pretty common. A lot of people
Yeah.
say the first one, you go picture crazy, and then everyone you have just gets a little less until
Yes.
finally the youngest one
Yes.
gets skunked and
Yes.
doesn't have the pictures.
Chip always felt he
And
was a
having all
dog.
the boys, there were a lot of hand-me-down clothes too.
Yeah,
John never had any hand-me-down.
well, he's the biggest, so everything has to be new for him, so Chip was out of date probably.
We were very tied down. I mean, people would come to visit us, but we rarely got a babysitter.
Sure.
And when my father came down to babysit a couple times, and my stepmother, and I guess my mother did a few times, but we never went anywhere alone, just the two of us,
Mhm.
until they were much older. And the first thing we did, it was many years later, my mother came for a weekend and
My mother used to from
right, Washington, and we went to New York.
Mhm.
And that was the first time we went away and the kids were in. And then Tony's mother always spent the month of August with us,
Oh, very
and she'd spend a couple of weeks in the spring after Easter.
Mhm.
And
When she was here when she would come down, we had a deep freezer down in the basement.
Mhm.
By the time she left, there would be 20 or 30 pizzas in there that we could bring out.
Yeah.
And she made cinnamon rolls,
yes,
and the kids just loved those cinnamon rolls.
and
Yeah.
she made homemade spaghetti,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and she would
When you say
fry.
homemade, would you actually make the pasta?
Yes, she
Yeah.
did.
She would make this dough, and then with a rolling pin, roll it all out, and then she had one of these spoons, not spoons, rollers, that
Mhm.
makes a sort of an odd cut,
The zigzag?
and just roll it there, and
And all the tables would be filled for it to dry, because it had to dry.
Sure.
And so the kids enjoyed very much Grandma's cooking and learned how to make things,
Mhm.
and she was
The
there.
other thing is, my mother was absolutely fantastic at crocheting.
Okay.
She could be talking to you, and here would come out this beautiful design. You know, she kept track of
Would she
it.
make the sweaters and?
She could, she made, but she stuck mainly to like doilies and
Mhm.
table setting deals and stuff like
Okay.
She
that.
was not able to read the directions, but people would tell her and read them to her, and she kept.
She would get a copy of something that she could count. She would make one, and usually everything repeats itself.
Mhm.
Even if you buy it, there are a lot of repeats.
Yeah.
We never let our children on Friday nights, or I guess Saturday nights, they got treats. And it was 1 6-ounce Coke, split into 3 at that time, because Chip was too young. And so one time my mother came and took them out for a drive, and she took them to People's Drugstore. They used to have fountain sodas, the bars.
Sure.
And she bought them each a Coke, and Stephen got hysterical laughing because Mrs. Katie, we're not even sick. They got Coke and they were sick. And you bought us a Coke. So they had funny and good experiences with grandparents.
Sure.
They really did.
How about grandfathers? Because I've heard a lot about Katie and your mom. What about, where were the grandfathers?
Well, my father was 20 years older than my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So my father,
Died in Adams Circle. He
he
died.
died out in the circle.
Yeah, so he was down.
And so he didn't really see the kids grow up.
Okay. Did you get to see them when they were born?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He saw them.
We had pictures.
He didn't see Chip. He didn't see Chip.
No.
He saw John, Stephen, and Tom, but he never saw Chip. He knew that she was expecting Chip, but he never saw her.
Okay.
And we saw my father rather often. He would come down on Sundays to visit us.
Nice. And how old was he? Like, how old were the kids when he finally passed?
Well, Chip was about a junior in high school when my dad died.
Okay, so they got a real good working knowledge of who he was. And
Yes, my Tony used to call him
One thing-
Cadillac Pete.
He gave us, her father and mother, a chore every Easter. We never had to worry about getting Easter baskets and stuff like that because that was her Easter presentation. They had enough Easter baskets at that house that, you know, believe it.
that's what your dad would bring?
Yeah.
All the Easter baskets?
No, it was really my stepmother.
Oh,
She's the one who did it, initiated that. Yes. But they knew my father, and they knew my grandmother.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if Chip remembers my grandmother.
I don't think Chip probably does, but that one's good.
But I know she used to sit and listen to Johnny read for us, so they knew my grandmother. No, I get, Chip was in the second grade when she died.
I'm sorry.
No, Tom was in the second grade. So
So
Chip.
still, he'd be old enough to have some
Right,
memories
but
of.
Chip would not remember.
Okay. And then on your side, would they have ever had a chance to meet your grandparents?
Let's see, they met my parents met all my children. I think they met all but Chip. I don't think my father lived to see Chip.
No, you're talking about your grandparents.
I never saw my grandparents.
Oh, okay.
Never.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember from your story, your dad came over with you, and your grandparents were still back in Italy?
My father came to this country about 15 or 20 years before my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother came in 1920.
Mm-hmm.
So he was here almost in the late 1800s.
Wow, okay.
And
1900 it came.
1900 and something, yeah. My mother was born in 1903.
She came to me, she was 15.
She would be 107 years old. My father would be 127 years old. He was 20 years older than my mother.
Okay. How long did your dad work for? Because I remember you said your dad worked in
He
the,
worked in a glass factory
in the glass factory that you worked
for
at.
50-some years.
Okay.
And he worked in that glass factory. It was owned by a Belgian.
Mm-hmm.
And the best job you could have was as a glass blower.
Mhm.
Glass blower would be making, say, back in those days, when I was growing up, a glass blower would make maybe $18, $20 a day,
Mm-hmm.
and a regular worker would make $4 or $5 a day.
Okay.
But they would not take any Italians
The
until the
Italian-
Belgians died off. And they started up a GI course, former GIs
Mm-hmm.
who had a government-paid training. I got on what they called the GI group
Okay.
and learned how to blow glass.
So you were one of the first Italians to be able to be a glass blower.
That's correct.
Nice.
And my father was what they call him, sort of a flunky. He would carry all the stuff around for them. You know,
Sure.
and the parts where it didn't need any real skill except a strong person.
Okay.
And the cylinders we made, the pipe alone weighed 20 pounds.
Uh,
And by the time you made the cylinder, it would be another 10 or 12 feet added onto it.
yeah,
And they couldn't get any more Belgians to do it anymore, because Belgians had some very small families,
Mhm.
very small.
okay,
And the Italians had large families.
sure,
And so they started what they called the GI shop after the war, and all three of us were Italians.
oh, that's
And
awesome,
one of them quit because he couldn't handle it.
okay,
And two of us made it, and one of them, his whole career was glass blowing.
okay. And the glass that you made, I know it came from your plant, you made the stuff where you press stuff into it and that's what's in the White House? To make it look more old and antique?
No, we would make cylinders, which eventually became glass panes.
Mm-hmm,
But the White House, they wanted to restore it with original looking glass.
Mhm.
Original glass had flaws galore in it.
so you actually had
And
to,
so what we would do is we would save the fine sweepings off the floor
mm-hmm,
and just splatter that on the ball while it was still molten,
mm-hmm,
and that would all show up in the glass.
and it looked like the old original
Well,
antique
sometimes
glass?
we overdid it, and that, so they told us, hey, slow down, we just
Sure,
showed
sure.
some spots in there, we don't want the whole thing to be
Yeah.
obliterated.
Okay, so you had John, and I guess he got, your parents would come in and get to see him. And then about, is it a year later that Steve came?
14 months.
Stephen is less than a year older than,
Oh, no,
Huh?
14 months. Steve was born in April, John was born in October, so it was from October to April.
okay,
So what was John's birthday? Do you know John's birthday?
October the 20, no, what is it? It's in October something,
25th.
October 25th, and then Steve is April what?
April 14th, this week.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay, so Steve's birthday's tomorrow, remember that? And then, what was it like when you added the second child to the mix? Because,
I was very concerned that I would not have enough time for the first child,
mm-hmm,
and this really upset me.
mm-hmm,
And someone said, this is stupid, I mean, people have children and it works out, and it does, but I felt so badly that I could not take care of the older one.
because John at that point, at 14 months would be probably walking and,
Doing diapers.
yeah,
But still in diapers for walking, yes, I know.
But you know, the thing is, nature takes care of those things. I mean, you know, the worst thing you get is an advice from your friends,
yeah,
who, the way they did it. Well, how, they did it the same way you're gonna do it.
yeah.
And also, we had a plus, we both were very healthy, the
Mhm.
children were healthy, and we
Sure.
were healthy, so that helps,
Mm-hmm.
that helps.
And then it's about another year when Tom came along.
Yes, yes.
And
That's
that
right,
made,
three of them were in high school at the same time.
sure.
Three
So they were
in
all
college
within
at the
that
same
12 to 14 month
Mhm.
range apart?
time.
Okay.
When three were in college at the same time,
Mhm.
and when the first one graduated, we felt, gee, this is nice, we bought a steak once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time the third one